My God, what happened to these stars? They were once rich, famous, and adored by fans, but now they are stuck and forgotten. From the red carpet straight to the prison bars, these celebrities are rotting behind bars, some for unbelievable reasons. Among the most shocking cases, we find Amy Locane, the famous actress from Melrose Place, who, by getting involved in a fatal traffic accident, lost her freedom. The irresponsible decision to drive under the influence cost him 8 years in prison and a lost future. Michael Jace, known for his role as a cop in the series The Shield, made a mistake that destroyed not only his career, but his life. In 2014, he killed his wife in front of his children, and after a devastating trial, was sentenced to 40 years in prison. Not everything is what it looks like in the brightness of the screen. Example of this is Joe Son, former star of Austin Powers and MMA athlete. His involvement in a violent attack in the 1990s was the beginning of the end of his career. The crime he committed, followed by a life full of controversy, guaranteed him a life sentence. Be very welcome to Top Celebrities. From now on, you will meet 25 celebrities who are rotting in jail. Starting with John Copenhaver, he became known in the MMA world as War Machine and was sentenced in 2017 to life imprisonment. John Copenhaver brutally assaulted his ex-girlfriend, porn actress Christy Mack, and a friend of hers, Corey Thomas, in 2014. The attack took place at Mack's home in Las Vegas, where Copenhaver stormed the premises and assaulted both with extreme violence. Mack suffered fractured ribs and liver, while Thomas had a broken nose and dislocated shoulder. After the crime, Mack managed to escape and seek help, while Copenhaver was arrested days later. He was convicted on 29 of the 34 charges, including sexual assault, kidnapping, and attempted murder. The life sentence includes the possibility of parole after 36 years served, when he will be 71. Number 24. Joe Exotic. In October 2024, documentary star Tiger King announced his engagement to Jorge Marquez, a cellmate with whom he has shared a relationship since they met in prison. Exotic, whose real name is Joseph Maldonado Passage, is serving a 21-year sentence for animal crimes and an attempted murder of activist Carol Baskin. In his social media post, he described Jorge as an amazing man and expressed the desire to marry in prison and subsequently seek asylum for Jorge or leave the United States together. The couple is awaiting approval of the marriage proposal by the prison authorities. Joe Son. Known for playing random task in Austin Powers, Joe Son had his life turned upside down after being sentenced to life imprisonment for crimes committed in 1990. In 2008, Son's DNA was linked to an attack, and he was finally arrested in 2011. During the trial, Son showed indifference to the crimes he committed. His life sentence, with no possibility of parole, reflected the gravity of his actions. Skylar DeLeon. The former Power Rangers actor was sentenced to death for a double murder in 2004. He and his wife Jennifer Henderson lured the couple Thomas and Jackie Hawks to a meeting with the promise of selling a yacht. During the meeting, DeLeon and his accomplices tied up the couple, forced them to sign sales documents, and threw them overboard with anchors attached to the bodies. The bodies were never found, but DeLeon confessed to the crime years later. In 2022, he was sentenced to death by lethal injection. However, due to the death penalty moratorium in California since 2019, he remains on death row awaiting execution. And number 21. Marion Suge Knight. I don't know if you remember her, but Suge Knight is a former rap tycoon and co-founder of Death Row Records. He was sentenced in 2018 to 28 years in prison for manslaughter. The crime occurred in 2015 when Knight ran over two people in a parking lot after a fight on the set of the movie Straight Outta Compton. One of the victims, Terry Carter, died from his injuries. Knight claims that he acted in self-defense, but the court found that he acted recklessly. In addition to the prison sentence, he was sentenced to pay compensation to the victims and their families. His conviction marked the end of a career marked by controversies in the world of hip-hop. R. Kelly. This famous singer and music producer was sentenced to 20 years in prison in 2023 for crimes related to minors. R. Kelly was already serving a 30-year sentence for serious crimes involving abuse. The court determines that 19 out of 20 years in prison should be served at the same time as the previous sentence, with an additional year to be served later. Kelly was convicted of crimes involving child exploitation. The case represents the end of a career that, despite great musical successes, was marked by serious accusations and convictions that tarnished his legacy. And now, one of the most serious cases of all involving actor Ryan Grantham. In September 2022, this Canadian actor, known for his role in Riverdale, was sentenced to life imprisonment for the murder of his mother, Barbara Waite. At 24, Grantham confessed to shooting his mother in the head while she was playing piano at home in March 2020. After the crime, he prepared the body, placed a confession letter, and drove to Vancouver with the intention of assassinating Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. However, Grantham gave up and turned himself into the police. The court found his genuine remorse and lack of criminal history, but the gravity of the crime resulted in a life sentence with no possibility of parole for 14 years. And if you like to follow this list of celebrities who are rotting in jail, already leave your like here in this video. Sign up here on Top Celebrities, leave your comment and participate with us. Continuing now with number 18, the actress Shannon Richardson. She was known for roles in The Walking Dead and The Vampire Diaries. In 2014, she was sentenced to 18 years in prison for sending letters containing ricin, a highly toxic substance, to U.S. President Barack Obama and former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg. Initially, Richardson tried to frame her husband, but after failing a polygraph test, she confessed to the crime. The act was motivated by personal revenge, and the letters contained threats related to gun control in the U.S. In addition to the prison sentence, she was sentenced to pay a $367,000 indemnity. Michael Jace, from the bright screen to the dark reality. He became known for his role as the police officer Julian Lowe in the acclaimed series The Shield. It seemed to be the portrait of virtue and justice. However, in 2014, his life turned into a nightmare. After an argument at home, he shot his wife, April Jace, in front of their young children. The tragedy shocked fans and colleagues, turning the actor from television hero to real-life villain. In 2016, Jace was sentenced to 40 years in prison for second-degree murder. His story serves as a grim warning about how appearances can deceive and how domestic violence can destroy lives, even among those who play lawbreakers in fiction. Corey Miller, best known artistically as C. Murder, he is an American rapper who gained notoriety in the 1990s as a member of the collective No Limit Records. In 2009, he was sentenced to life imprisonment for the murder of 16-year-old fan Steve Thomas in 2002 in Harvey, Louisiana. Miller always maintained his innocence, claiming that he was the victim of a miscarriage of justice. Since then, he has sought to reverse his conviction, receiving support from public figures such as Kim Kardashian, who question the validity of the trial and the consistency of the evidence presented. The case continues to be debated, with appeals for further judicial review. Another famous who has failed was Gary Glitter. He is a well-known British singer of the 1970s. He was sentenced to 16 years in prison for crimes committed between 1975 and 1980. After serving half his sentence, he was released in February 2022, but returned to prison 6 weeks later for violating probation conditions. In 2024, a committee on conditionality hearing decided that he should remain in prison due to the lack of progress on rehabilitation programs and the continued denial of his interest in minors. In addition, in June 2024, Glitter was ordered to pay £508,800, approximately $650,000, to a victim for harm caused by the abuse. Elizabeth Holmes, the founder of Theranos, began her sentence of 11 years and 3 months in a federal prison in Texas on May 30, 2023, after being convicted for defrauding investors. In July 2023, his sentence was reduced by 2 years, with release expected on 29 December 2032. In May 2024, this date was brought forward to 16 August 2032. Holmes is serving time at the federal prison camp in Bryan, Texas, a minimum security unit. She was also ordered to pay $452 million in compensation to the victims of the scheme. In February 2025, the U.S. Court of Appeals upheld its conviction, rejecting allegations of legal errors during the trial.
Number 13. Kid Creole. In 2022, he, who was one of the pioneers of hip-hop and a member of the iconic group Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, was sentenced to 16 years in prison for murder. The crime happened in 2017 when Creole killed a man in Manhattan. The incident shocked the community and led to his arrest. Kid Creole, who was a key figure in the creation of hip-hop, had his life marked by a trajectory of great prominence, but that ended in tragedy. Mel Hall, former MLB baseball player. He was sentenced to 45 years in prison for crimes committed while serving as a youth team coach. Mel Hall was found guilty of abusing a 12-year-old athlete who trained under his supervision, as well as other victims who appeared during the trial. Hall, who had a distinguished professional career with passes for teams such as the Chicago Cubs, Cleveland Indians, New York Yankees, and San Francisco Giants, had his image and sporting legacy tainted by these actions. He will serve a significant portion of his sentence before being eligible for parole.
Jerry Harris. He asked for forgiveness, but to no avail. Former star of the reality show Cheer, he was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison in July 2022 after pleading guilty to crimes involving minors. Jerry Harris admitted to soliciting explicit intimate images in exchange for money and traveling to Florida with the intent to commit illicit acts with a boy. Harris also acknowledged receiving materials containing explicit images of other young people. The court also ordered him to serve 8 years of supervised release after his prison sentence. During the hearing, Harris expressed deep regret, stating that his actions were wrong and selfish, and asked for forgiveness from his victims. Number 10. Mark Gator Rogalski. In November 2024, the former skateboarding star had his application for parole denied for the third time. He is serving a 31-year prison sentence for the 1991 murder of a young woman in San Diego. Rogalski, who was one of the first stars of professional skateboarding in the 1980s, saw his career crumble after the crime. The parole panel found that he still poses a risk to society and demonstrated no genuine remorse. He will remain incarcerated and may apply for a new conditionality hearing in 2026. Aisling Tucker Moore Reid. She was a horror movie actress who entered the macabre cast of celebrities involved in real crimes. Accused of killing her uncle, Shane Moore, in 2016, she claimed it was in self-defense. However, contradictory evidence and a cell phone recording have exposed his version as false. During the trial, Moore Reid was on probation and had starred in a horror film where his character committed murder. In 2020, she was sentenced to 6 years in prison for manslaughter, a life that eerily imitated the art it represented. Bill Cosby. Known as the godfather of comedy and an icon of American television, he had his life and career dethroned after being accused of harassment and sexual abuse by dozens of women over decades. After years of denial, Cosby was finally convicted in 2018 on 3 sexual assault charges and sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison. The fall of Cosby is one of the greatest examples of how power and fame can be used in a predatory way, and how justice, even when delayed, finally prevails. Number 7. Amy Locane.
The actress, known for her performance in Melrose Place and Cry Baby, was again convicted in 2020 of vehicular homicide after a fatal accident in 2010. Driving drunk, she collided with another vehicle, killing 60-year-old Helen Sima, who was in the ride. The actress had already served 3 years in prison and 3 on probation, but the sentence was reassessed and now she faces 8 years in prison for second-degree murder. Amy, a mother of 3, deeply regrets and uses her experience to warn of the dangers of drinking and driving. This one you see now is the actor Danny Masterson. He is best known for his role in That 70s Show. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison for crimes committed between 2001 and 2003. In 2023, Danny Masterson was found guilty of 2 cases of sexual assault and received the maximum sentence allowed by law. The victims, Church of Scientology members at the time, reported that they faced difficulties in reporting due to pressure from the organization. During the trial, one of the victims stated that Masterson stole his voice and choice. The actor, who always denied the charges, will be eligible for parole after serving 25.5 years.
Aaron Hernandez. He sadly died in prison. The former New England Patriots player was found dead in his cell at the Sousa Baranowski Detention Center in Massachusetts in April 2017. He was 27 years old. In 2013, he was arrested for the murder of Odin Lloyd and 5 other firearms-related charges. The former Patriots player was sentenced to life in prison without the right to appeal. He broke down and took his own life in prison. His brain was donated for study at Boston University, where he was diagnosed with chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, a condition associated with repeated head injuries. Number 4. Mark Wahlberg. You should know who this actor is. Wahlberg is best known for his role in Transformers and for his overcoming trajectory. In recent years, he has sought to erase a dark chapter of his past. At the age of 16, he was involved in a serious incident in Boston in which he assaulted 2 people during an attempted robbery. The episode resulted in a conviction for assault, for which he served 45 days in prison. Recognizing the mistakes made in his youth, Wahlberg asked the government of Massachusetts for a formal pardon to clear his criminal record. O.J. Simpson. He has already left us, but was marked by the years he spent in prison. The former football player and actor died on April 10, 2024, at age 76 in Las Vegas after a battle against cancer. Simpson earned fame as a running back for the Buffalo Bills and the San Francisco 49ers, being the first NFL player to exceed 2,000 yards in a season. His career was marked by successes in sports, film, and television. However, his personal life was marked by controversy, including a widely publicized trial in 1995 in which he was acquitted of the murder charges but subsequently held responsible in a civil suit. In 2008, he was convicted of theft and kidnapping, serving a sentence until his release in 2017. His legacy remains complex, reflecting both his achievements and the personal challenges faced over the years. And number 2, Jennifer Shaw. Marked by her participation in the reality show The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, she was sentenced in January 2023 to 6.5 years in prison for leading a national telemarketing fraud scheme that lasted almost a decade. She has been held responsible for deceiving thousands of people, many of them elderly and vulnerable, by offering non-existent online business services. Judge Sidney H. Stein pointed out that Shaw used the profits of the scheme to support a luxurious lifestyle, including a $7.4 million mansion and several high-value goods. After conviction, she pleaded guilty and expressed deep regret, committing to pay $6.5 million in restitution to the victims. And actress Allison Mack. The Dear Chloe Sullivan, inseparable friend of young Clark Kent in the series Smallville. She was sentenced to 3 years in prison in 2021 for involvement in illicit activities related to the NXIVM group led by Keith Raniere.
She pleaded guilty to extortion and conspiracy after recruiting women into a secret subculture called DOS, where they were manipulated and forced to perform tasks against their will. In July 2023, Mac was released after serving approximately 2 years of prison due to her collaboration with the authorities and good behavior. Since her release, she has expressed deep regret and seeks to rebuild her life. These celebrities did not know how to deal with fame. They made a big mistake and got very bad. Which of these celebrities surprised you the most in this list? Tell us here in the comments. What else shocked you in this video? Leave your comment below and participate. Do not forget to leave your like. I'll leave another super interesting video for you here in the cards. Just click here on this card to watch. It's worth seeing. Don't forget to drink plenty of water, okay? And for more videos like this, just sign up here in the top celebrities and activate the bell notifications. Once again, my thanks, and see you next time.